Okay. One, two. I want to say, good morning, good evening to you. Sorry for the little bit of delay due to some little bit of technical problem, but it's sorted now. Fidel, good evening. How are you doing?
Well, I'm as good as one can be on a day like this in the history of our country. Uh, yeah, as like I said, as good as one can be. It's frightening times for Liberia, and as good as one can be.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's welcome each and everyone. Please, if you can just throw that video into a group that you are in also, we will highly appreciate just to invite one or two people to come and watch with you so we all can share some ideas here and throw some lights on the trending developments. Um, finally today, according to information on news from back home, uh, Justice Janice is out. And I know it's for many people, they stay asking questions with respect to the justice system, how the house, those are given responsibility to how they are handling things. But however, I going to be able to, um, we are asking a few questions tonight on our talking point. We'll look at, because we want to actually deal with it and because we don't have enough time, what we're going to do is not to read all of the papers today, because I decided to also take you back just to read some of the headlines as they were reported when the whole show started. Well, it's a show. The film ended today. But we would like to get you involved as well, if you may, if you have the time, on our talking point at the Capitol Hill. Why was Janet actually just Janet impeached? That's the question there. And then we go to look at the voting system that kicked him out, and what next as well. What do we expect next? Do we expect similar things to take place? How can we correct things as well to handle things in the proper perspective so that we can't experience something like this? So your pieces of advice, all of you that are watching, is highly appreciated. You're welcome to make a comment, and we'll read them as well. But Fidel, Mr. Budy is here tonight as well as usual on Friday night as guest analyst to help us to, from his perspective as well, since he's been following the trial, I can say. But let me take you a little bit back, a little bit, to just share with you some of the headlines. I'm picking on the front page Africa. I think it's somewhere around July 8, 2018. The headlines read, impeachment hangs over Supreme Court Associate Justice Cabinet Janet. Then we went on, there's another headline that came up to say, why Gray wants Janet out. Justice Janet's impeachment, an attempt to weaken Supreme Court bench. That was a question mark on that story. That was also July 11, 2018. Lawmaker wants critical review of Supreme Court Justice's impeachment bill. That was a call there from a CDC District Number 2, Grand Crew County the chairman on Judiciary Committee. And that's also thereafter, the 19th of July, I went to the 24th. It say Judiciary not aware of Justice Janet's impeachment report. That story also came up. Another headlines as well. Liberian journalists in America call on Liberian government to rethink Justice Janet's impeachment. And the other one says on the August 18, 2018 again, House refuses to honor Supreme Court's stay order on Justice Janet's impeachment. House refuses to honor Supreme Court's stay order on Justice Janet. Who we see there is the Speaker of the House. And the one says here on 22nd of August 2018, remember, this case been dragging for a long time. Supreme Court cites House's leadership on Janet's impeachment. August 24, 2018. Elders of Nimba seek hot to Justice Janet's impeachment. Say move is divisive. Say move is divisive. And those are the elders of Nimba County. A Federation of Nimba Youth Students petitioned lawmakers to squash impeachment of Associate Janet. That is on the 29th of August 2018. Pages of committee's report on Justice Janet impeachment disappear. Where are the missing pages? That was on August 29. Justice Janet's impeachment marred by procedural error. That came up as well on August the 31st, 2018. Divided High Court bench marred in impeachment saga. That was in August as well, 2018. EFL, that's the Economic Freedom Fighter, accuses President Weah as he remains mum on Justice Janet's impeachment. That's also in September. That was September now, almost coming to the end of the year. Councillor Jerome Verdier points out error in Justice Janet's impeachment procedure. So this case has been running for a long time. Senate Judiciary Committee takes over impeachment proceeding. That's in September 2018 as well. National Muslim Council of Liberia calls on legislature to abandon Justice Janet's impeachment. That's also in September 5th, 2018. Political parties in Liberia want Senate reject Justice Janet's impeachment. They also came in. Speaker closes first session of the 54th legislature, escape rumors of impeachment. This one says Justice Nangbe rejects calls to recuse himself from Janet impeachment proceeding. Chief Justice rules against Justice Nangbe recuser from Justice Janet's impeachment proceeding. That's October 2018. And this one says here, Senator Community Wisa slams Senate to making Justice Janet impeachment a priority. That's November 2018, almost at the close of the year. And this one says Senate sets stage for impeachment, votes to amend Rule 63. November 7, 2018. Ministry of Justice seeks to represent House of Reps in Justice Janet's impeachment. That's November 10, 2018. And then this one says 4 senators petition Supreme Court to halt Associate Janet, Cabinet Janet's impeachment. And that's November 14, 2018. We have confidence in the Supreme Court. Councillor Arthur Johnson speaks of Janet's. Okay, and then one say, okay, this one says Supreme Court decides on rate of prohibition on Janet impeachment. Supreme Court empowers legislature to proceed with Justice Janet's impeachment. That's November 30, 2018. House of Representatives to continue with Justice Janet's impeachment, 30 November 2018. Female justices object to majority opinion in Janet's impeachment, 3rd of December 2018. Senate to begin impeachment proceeding of Supreme Court Justice next year. So as we closed December 3rd, the table A to take recess, I think, to go. But they came back, they says, yeah, a divided bench. Justices of Supreme Court having sour relationship amid Justice Jane's impeachment. That's 7 December 2018. Bar Association president calls on Chief Justice to recuse himself from Justice Jane's proceedings. That's Tanwa Gongro there. December 14, 2018. Do not France on course for contraism in Supreme Court Justice's impeachment proceeding. That was in January 8, 2019. And so we enter the year now to start another saga into it. Liberia Supreme Court gives legislature green light to carry on impeachment trial of Justice Jane. That's February 6th this year. The justices were in error. Associate Justice Worokoli dissent on allowing Senate hold impeachment disagreements. That's on 7th of February. The Justice Jane impeachment trial set for Thursday, that's February 12th this year. Associate Justice Cabinet Jane wants Chief Justice recuse himself from impeachment, but they didn't listen. Anyway, Chief Justice's recusal motion highlights day one of Associate Justice's impeachment. That's 14 February 2019. Justice Jane fighting with the law, seek prohibition on impeachment trial at Senate. Now, 15th of February. Jane's impeachment. Opposition parties frown on deliberate attempt to destroy democracy. Our guest analysts will have a lot to actually say on these issues. Chief Justice set to render recusal judgment in Justice Jane impeachment trial. We just want to let you know where we have come from. February 19, 2019. Motion denied. Liberia's Chief Justice rejects request to recuse himself from impeachment of Jane. And this one says, a defiant Chief Justice rejects recusal, call in Associate Justice's impeachment saga. February 20, 2019. Supreme Court Justice Jane's impeachment hearing delayed 3 days. As also we say in February, Islamic group set dates for Operation Safe Judicial Protest against Justice Jane. That is in February as well. Justice Jane impeachment trial, a test for Senate to prove legislature useless. 26th of February. Associate Justice Jane lawyers want impeachment trial dismissed. 26th of February. Jane pleads not guilty as Chief Justice denies motion to quash and dismiss impeachment. February 27. Citizens in Banga, Monrovia protest to oppose impeachment of Associate Justice Jane. March the 1st, 2019. In Jane's impeachment, Representative Gray takes the stand as first witness, 7th of March. In this month now, Councillor Bronskin criticizes ongoing impeachment of Justice Jane, says it is, I think it is illegal. Okay, let's go. Bar Association condemns mob justice against Sano women, speaks on ongoing impeachment, 11th of March this year. Chief Justice Bar President exchange jabs over impeachment of Associate Justice Cabinet Jane. That's March 12th, 2019. Gradually, Mr. President, you ought not to support Councillor Sifa's role in the impeachment trial of Justice Jane. That's March 14. I think that those are letter editorial. Okay, Jane testifies in ongoing impeachment trial as road phone takes center stage. The March 19, just a couple of days ago. And you go further, it says former Supreme Court Justice cites irregularities in impeachment of Associate Justice. That's 22nd of March. And in the editorial, the illegality of Supreme Court Justice's impeachment, 25th of March. And this one say, just the bank's links just the Justice Minister to road phone petition leading to Johnny's impeachment. Justice Minister implicated, that's the headlines there. Senate to vote, 28th of, which was yesterday, 28th. Senate to vote in Justice Johnny's impeachment today. Johnny's Judgment Day, that headline carried that yesterday. 8 senators plan to withdraw from impeachment trial Justice Johnny. That's the impeachment trial of Justice Johnny. Those show them there. March the 28th, which was yesterday. Liberia Justice Johnny impeachment not out of defiant action. That's lawyers are saying so. 29 yesterday. And then finally, before Grand Crook Rep Dennis dispensing Johnny's impeachment money. That's for today. And finally, Senate pro tempore under fire ahead of Supreme Court Justice impeachment verdict. Fidel, this is where we have come from in terms of this rope and roll and the saga and the end. I don't know. As far as the end is concerned, where we are reading fairy tale, what is it? Where do you stand as a concerned patriotic citizen? Were you taken aback? Were you surprised? Was this something that you were expecting?
To be honest, I always try to, last week on the show, I said, it's getting to a place now where I'm losing interest in Liberia. But even with that state of mind, I always try to hope that something good can come out of Liberia. And I was hopeful, I think up until the end, I was hopeful that the men and women in the Senate would be more grown up. Obviously, the Constitution of Liberia puts the eligibility age for people in the House of Representatives at 25, and those in the House of Senate at 30. So you hope that people in the House of Senate will be more mature and would think things through significantly before coming up with certain decisions. So obviously, to answer your question, I was always hopeful that these individuals will be mature enough to read between the lines and do the right thing for the first time for the people of the Republic. I've said in the past, and I'll say it today, and I'll probably continue to say it as we go forward. It does not seem that our elected leaders, who were elected directly by the people. Now, obviously, no leader in Liberia should be corrupt or should be in it for themselves. But I can understand to a degree an appointed official, because he wasn't elected by the people. He's serving at the will and pleasure of the president. So he doesn't have a lot of incentives to be accountable. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just saying that he or she doesn't have enough incentives to be accountable to the people. But when you've been directly elected by the people, like we have in the case of our senators and our representatives and the president and vice president, then it is imperative that you represent the interests of the people who elected you. The reason I say that is because the 24 senators who voted in favor of passing this motion to impeach Justice Janet should really sit and take a hard look at themselves, but also the people who elected them need to make sure that these people are not sent back to the national legislature come next election. Whenever it is that they will have to face the people to be re-elected, their people, the people in their counties, Liberians in their counties that they represent, who elected them, should make sure that these individuals do not get re-elected, because what they've done is not only illegal, because you can talk about the legality of it, and I've spent most of this evening reading the petitions. I read the petition from Akaris Gray and the Fala guy, and I read the petition from His Honor Justice Kabina Janet, and listened to the testimony of former the Supreme Court Justice Banks, and it's clear when you put all of these things together that there is no basis, legal basis, on which this impeachment should have gone ahead. And I'll explain what I mean when we come to discussing that. But I believe it's a horrible day. Like I said, I had hope, but these guys have proven to me that they're in it for themselves. And I don't expect that from elected officials, because you should be more accountable, because you can be voted out. You're not appointed where you have to serve the president, serve the will of the president, because well, as long as I serve the president, I'll be kept in office. No, you are elected, so you should serve your people, because if you don't serve your people, they will vote you out. And I'm calling on the Liberians who live in the counties of all of these senators to make sure that they do not go back to the national legislature next election.
And now, I don't know whether it's a crowd foul play or so, but on the 21st, actually, the journalists came out and accused the House of Representatives of not according him due process. Given this synopsis or the chronological setting that I've just been giving you with respect to the development of this case, which started in 2018 or so, would you agree with him that he wasn't given a due process?
Well, the thing is, first of all, if we look at, because what Justice Janet was trying to say, I think he cited, I'm just trying to find, yeah. So he cited Article 20A of our Constitution, and that's the thing. I was looking at it tonight, and the point that he's trying to make, and I think for me, I think Article 21 touched on that as well, is that, sorry, Max. The point he's trying to make is that the Constitution says that when you're going to bring an article of impeachment against an elected official or a member of the judiciary, it should be done with the relevant rules that are in place. All right? So Rule 63, which is supposed to be the rule that the national legislature used to facilitate the process of impeachment, was only rectified after the process had already started. So, for example, let's take this for example. The Liberian, the legislature passed a law that says you're not allowed to drink and drive. But then you pass the law on the 28th, or let's say 29th of March 2019, and then you want to, but then people who drank and drove on the 25th of March 2019, you want to arrest them and try them under the same law, when that law wasn't in place when the person committed the offense. So his argument was, and I agree with him to an extent, you cannot start the process of impeachment, then go back and make the rules for the process of impeachment, because the rules should tell you how the process should go on. The rules, if you look at rules and regulations, guidelines, they're there to tell you how to move the process. You cannot start the process and then go and make the rules, which is unfair. And when it comes to legal, I'm not a lawyer, but when it comes to my experience of being involved in legal matters, the law, when it comes to implementation of the law, there's three things that needs to be taken into consideration. The the first thing you need to consider is the letter of the law. So what is said, so what was written in black and white? For example, where Article 20A says no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, security of person, property, privilege, or any rights. So what does it say? You try persons on the letter. And then you also have to consider the spirit of the law. So the people who wrote the law, what were their intentions when they wrote the law? So if the law was written in response to a certain, so the example is the 1847 Constitution did not have in there stipulations for the judiciary branch, wherein members of the judiciary, when it came to removing them from office, there was no process of impeachment in place. The executive could just take them out of office. Yeah, the 1986 Constitution rectified that. The reason, and this is one of the things, talk about the legality here. And this is, for us in Liberia, we really do not understand what it means, the word nuance. We don't understand the word nuance. We just see things as black and white. Sometimes there's a gray area, and you have to understand the gray area. And that's what the nuance meanings are found. And we don't understand that in Liberia. If it's not black, it's white. That's it. We're moving on. And the problem with this is what the 1986 Constitution did, the intention, and this is, you talk about the spirit of the law, the intention of the 1986 Constitution, when they put in place, I think it's Article 73. When they put in place Article 73, just go down quickly to Article 73. Yeah, no judicial officer should be summoned, arrested, detained, and da-di-da-di-da. It was because the intention was to make sure that the judiciary's power as an equal branch and separate branch was protected. Now, if we look at this whole proceeding in terms of the intent of the law, the spirit of the law, then that is a breach of Article 73, because Article 73 was put in place specifically to protect individuals in the judiciary. So when they say certain things, people will not come after them to punish them for what they said. So that, what the 1847 Constitution did not have, the 1986 Constitution had inputted. And that's where you look at the spirit of the law. That's the second aspect. And then the third aspect, which is what Justice Janet mentioned last on the 21st, was fairness. Yeah, the law must be applied in a fair manner. So what does that mean? It means that you cannot have Max, who has said all his life that he does not like pumpkin, and then there's a case involving the abolition. I mean, we want to throw pumpkin away. We want pumpkin to be in Liberia no more. And then of all of the people you can call to sit on the case as a juror, you call Max, who does not like pumpkin. What do you expect Max to say? Max will say, "You'll get rid of the pumpkin," because obviously Max does not like pumpkin. Example. So it's not fair, So obviously it's not illegal. It's not illegal to call you, but then it's not applying the law in a fair manner because the individual himself already has some prejudicial opinions on what is going to be discussed. So if you take all of that into consideration, then it is illegal because one, yes, you've got the letter of the law, but two, the spirit of the law has to be considered. And in this, under Article 73, in my opinion, and in the opinion of others who have spoken about this, the intent of the spirit of the law was never considered. The spirit of the law is we're putting this in because we want to protect the independence of our judiciary. We don't want the legislature and the executive to just jump on every day and come and then kick people out of office because they dislike something that they said. And to that point, one of the issues that these guys raised was that there was a case, if you look at the, I'm not sure if you have the petition, but I've got the petition in front of me, the petition that Gray and Fowler put before the House of Representatives. If you look at the petition says in number 6 and number 11, where it talked about the issue about this case. There was a case between EcoBank and some Mr. Clark. So Mr. Clark had a loan from EcoBank. He paid the loan, but EcoBank records were not correct, so they thought that he didn't pay. They went, they arrested him, And then when they found out the records that he paid the loan, they released him from prison. But then he decided to sue EcoBank for defamation of character. He won the case. EcoBank appealed. They went to the appeal. The first appeal was squashed, and then they took it to a higher court. In that higher court, they had the opportunity to submit their appeal within 10 days. They did not submit the appeal. The judge decided to make a decision. Now, my understanding, and I might be wrong, and I'm hoping someone can prove me wrong on this matter, but I've read it a few times, and I'm sure I'm not wrong, but it's opinion anyway. My opinion on the matter is, whenever a court that is not the Supreme Court of Liberia, because the Supreme Court, according to the Constitution, makes the final judgment on any matter. Once the Supreme Court says no, you can go up, you come down, that's your business, nothing coming out of it again. Once this case has not reached the Supreme Court, you can continue to appeal that case. So I want people to listen to this, but we're talking about the legality of this, because the accusation was the lower court made a decision. Justice Janet, because he's in a higher court, decided to come down, take this case up to the higher court, and then make a different judgment on that case. That's not illegal. The Supreme Court is allowed to do that. That's why they're supreme. They're up here. They're above all other courts. So they can. Recently, I'll give you an example. Recently, the Supreme Court in the United States, I can't give you the exact facts and figures, but they intervened in a case, in a subordinate court, put a halt to that case for a few weeks until they made a determination on how the case was supposed to proceed. That's exactly what Justice Janet did, which is within his purview as a member of the Supreme Court. Now, he made that, according to them, their petition was, he came down here, took this, he didn't make the decision, he took it up, and the decision was made, and they believe that was an abuse of power. That was not an abuse of power. But this is the point I want people to take away as well. Even if, let's just for 1 minute hypothetically agree with Gray and Fala that what Janet did by coming down and taking it up was an abuse of power. Then the Chief Justice, Francis Coppola, is culpable as well, because he sat there, allowed Janet to do it. He didn't say anything about it. Why didn't? Because she's the Chief Justice. If he realized that what Janet did was illegal, shouldn't wait for the national legislature to come and tell you what your justice has just done, associate justice has just done is wrong. You are the Chief Justice. You should take responsibility. You should have called Janet and said, look, no, this is not what we can do. This is not legal. We shouldn't be doing this. So no, we cannot make this happen. So where is he? That is my question. So if we're saying, even though I don't believe what he did was illegal, but if we say what he did was an abuse of power, then where was the Chief Justice? Why didn't he step in and say, no, you know what? Because the Chief Justice is like the president of the Senate to the judiciary, or he's like the speaker to the judiciary. He's like the president of the Republic of the executive to the judiciary. He's the chief of the judiciary. So he can step in and tell Janet, that's not going to happen on this bench whilst I'm Chief Justice. So why didn't he intervene if he felt, because Janet didn't do this behind the house? Because if he did it behind the house, then how did Akaras Gray and Fala, whatever the other guy name is, find out? It was done openly. So then why did the Chief Justice not intervene to say, okay, this thing you're doing is wrong, let's stop it from happening? So you see, that's why it's very complicated. And that's why for some of us who are always cynics, we see this as a political maneuver and something that is unprecedented in our country's history. I was just having a look at the history of the Supreme Court. I've not seen yet, I just came through it, any instance where a justice, an associate justice of the court, had gone through an impeachment process. I've not seen any evidence of that. So at the end of the day, this is unprecedented. This is something that Liberians should really, and I commented on social media today, say, look, we need to take a step back. We need to look at the situation. Let's not rush to conclusions. Let's not get ethnic about it. Let's not get geographical about it. Let's just sit back. This is not a Nimba County versus them. This is not a Madingo versus them. This is an issue that is a political issue we need to step back and at the end of the day, review the situation. And I've just done my review. And I will be honest with you, Max. My opinion on the matter is this is wrong. It's illegal, first and foremost. It's immoral, secondly. It's divisive in the third instance. And fourth, it's not even something that this country needs right now. You know, when you've got a country where the economy is in free fall, at the same time, the president is taking 24 people to follow him to Senegal to go and to an inauguration. When the country is, you know, people are going missing because they have dissenting voices. You know, when opposition leaders have been threatened on a daily basis and the government and police are doing nothing about it, then we have more important, or as Liberian people can say, we have bigger fish to fry than to worry about something as minuscule, you know, something is so, you know, in my opinion, it's not an important matter because it's nothing illegal in terms of what he did.
So I mean, in a nutshell, if you are answering the question as to why Justice Janet was impeached, key 3 words or 2 words, what are they?
Political, revenge, vendetta. My understanding is, and I was in Liberia in December 2017. I mean, in November 2017. My understanding is that he was the only justice on this bench who voted against the lifting of the stay order on the elections, the second runoff election. So when the Liberty Party, the Unity Party, the ANC, no, the Liberty Party, Unity Party, and the not ANC, ALP had the Supreme Court put a stay on the second round, and then they went to vote to lift that stay. He was the only person who voted against the stay order, and based on that, you know, the CDC have made it their duty to destroy him and to get him out of the judiciary branch of government. Because the thing is, look, if you look at the Constitution, Max, and if you look at Article 71, which is one of the articles that Justice Janet cited as well, and not only that, but the petitioner cited, and I just want to just read this quite quickly. It said, the Chief Justice and Associate Justices of the Supreme Court and Justices of subordinate courts of record shall hold office during good behavior. They may be removed upon impeachment and conviction by the legislature based on proved misconduct, gross breach of duty, inability to perform the functions of their office, or conviction in a court of law for treason, for bribery, or other infamous crimes. Now, if you want to measure proved misconduct, that is probably, it's almost like the collusion situation we have in America. It's so difficult to prove approved misconduct that what is approved misconduct? The Constitution does not define what proved misconduct is. So it's open to interpretation. So what you, Max, might think as approved misconduct, I can look at it and say, nah, it's not approved misconduct. Because the Constitution of Liberia does not define what falls under or what can be categorized as proved misconduct. So who made the decision that he did something that was proved misconduct, or that he was in gross breach of duty? Because if he was in gross breach of duty, like I said, then the Supreme Court Chief Justice should have done something about it. You cannot work for an organization. You have a CEO. The CEO job is to make sure that the organization's day-to-day running is perfect. You are the financial officer. You do something horrible. The Chief Justice, the CEO has the ability to investigate and deal with you. And then he sat there until one of his competitors from another company come and tell him, oh, your finance officer did this. And he knows everything that you've done. That don't make sense to me. Because if I'm CEO of a company and one of my employees do something wrong, then I know about it, I deal with it. If I do not go ahead and deal with it, it means that I don't think that it's wrong. That's why I wouldn't deal with it, because I see it, nah, it's not wrong. I'll leave it. So then why now, because the thing is, he had Justice, the Chief Justice had the opportunity when Justice Janet filed the petition for a writ of prohibition. He had the opportunity to, one, recuse himself.
Yeah.
Two, ask Justice Nangbe to recuse himself, because obviously Justice Nangbe is a sedition. He's a newly appointed justice by the president, so he is biased. You don't need God to come down from heaven to tell you that. This guy he was a senator, he's a sedition, he was appointed by this president, so he's definitely going to make sure that he does what this president wants him to do.
Okay.
So you do not let him vote in that. You ask him, even if you don't want to recuse him, ask him to recuse himself. Because at the end of the day, he cannot be impartial. So that was the second thing. And then the third thing is, he could have, since he decided not to recuse himself, for the sake of the independence of our judiciary. Look, man, I listened to someone say the other day, he said sometimes, as a leader, you have to go against your morals, against your principles, for the greater good of your people. So you might be a Christian and you believe in the Bible and you know that certain things should not be done. But because if you don't do something, your people will suffer gravely. It's a horrible thing to say, and most people will start calling me and say, "My man, you're a Christian." But at the end of the day, you do certain things that normally you wouldn't do if it benefits the greater good of your country and your people.
Yeah.
And Chief Justice Kpakio had that responsibility in the third instance. Since he didn't recuse himself, since he didn't ask Nangbe to recuse himself, he could have voted with the two ladies. And then it was going to be 3 against 2. And then today we're not even sitting down here. Case closed. Everybody go home. Even though he believed, for whatever reason, that what Justice Janet did was wrong, but because of the independence of the judiciary, just to make sure that we do not have it in our record, in our history, that a justice of the Supreme Court, an associate justice, was impeached by a CDC-led government because of a vendetta they had against him.
Yeah.
Just so that cannot be on your record, in your history as Chief Justice. If it was me sitting in his position, I would have voted with the two ladies and the two female associate justices, just for history's sake, to make sure that history does not judge me in the wrong way, but also because of the independence of the judiciary and for the greater good. Because this, Max, one of the reasons I wrote the post I wrote today is because I follow a lot of the comments that people were making on Facebook and other social media outlets, and people are getting very tribal about what happened.
Mm-hmm.
People have gone down the Mandingo route too quickly.
Yeah, we saw it.
People have gone down the Nima County route too quickly. As soon as the decision was made, many comments were about, oh, they're doing this to Mandingo people. Oh, because they made from Nima now, so they're doing this to Nima people. And we know what happens. Our history is very clear. We know what happened in 1985 in Nima County and how much that contributed to the war. We know what happened in between the Nimas and the Mandingos that brought Lurd, and Justice Janet, who was with the Lurd forces, brought them to come and wreak havoc on our people. So we know what happens when we go down the tribal or geographic line. That's why we are begging Liberians, y'all wait, y'all sit down, y'all drink cold water, y'all calm down, and then think logically. It's wrong, but there are better ways that we can express our opinions than to go down this ethnic line or go down the line of the geography, because we're from this place or from that place. Look, I'm disappointed. I said it today in my comments. I am disappointed. I'm reading through this petition, and some of and this is where it comes back to this point. These guys, a bunch of idiots, I'll say, who sit in there and they're only there to enrich. The national legislature are not working in the interest of the Liberian people. Those legislators are not working they're there for themselves. And the Liberian people need to learn and do better. These guys take home in a month what it would probably take a police officer 5 years to make.
Yeah. Sad.
In a month, 1 month. The money they take home in 1 month, it'll take a police officer, a guy who stands out in the cold at night to protect us when we sleep. It will take him maybe 5 to 10 years to make what they make in 1 month. And the Liberian people need to sit and think about that. That these individuals are playing with our democracy. Look, I'm not a fan of President Sirleaf. Was never a fan of the woman. I appreciated her. I respect her very, very much because some of the things she achieved as a female in this world, you can't legislate for it. She's strong. She did a lot of good things. I'm not a fan of hers. I don't like her policies. I didn't like the way she behaved. I don't like the way she sat over and allowed people to be corrupt in our country and how Liberia was. But during Sirleaf's regime, even President Weir alluded to that in his inaugural speech. There weren't many instances where our democracy was tempered with as it has been done so far in less than 2 years of this government. She did not temper with our democracy as much as this government is trying to do. She did not muscle the press. People did not go missing on a daily basis. There was not a lot of divisiveness. I never heard this chairman of the Unity Party come out and threaten opposition leaders. I never heard Ellen Johnson Sirleaf call opposition members as enemies of the state. The president of the Republic of Liberia referred to members of the opposition as not just as the president himself came out and said people are enemies of the state because they're criticizing him.
It's great. Great.
We have to make sure, and that's why I'm disappointed. And that's from the start. I talked about Justice Koba. He is culpable because he had a lot of opportunities to arrest this situation. In the first instance, if he felt that when Associate Justice Janet did it was wrong, he's supposed to call him and say, look, I made anything you did not right. So we have to go back and undo it. Right there and then it's finished, done. Nobody have question to answer. That's your era. You the boss there, you run the show. Secondly, he could have recused himself and then asked Nangbe to recuse himself, so to give this man a fair trial. Third, I don't like it. I don't agree with what Janet did. I will vote because it's good for the independence of our judiciary. It's good for our country, for our democracy, for the judiciary. Look, I was reading excerpts from the U.S. Government's human rights report on Liberia recently. And the judiciary in Liberia is castigated is probably not the word, but it's portrayed as weak, ineffective, corrupt. And this does not help to reverse that in any way.
All right. Okay, let me quickly say that we'll come back to Fidel with respect to maybe the analysis on the vote and what next. But let me just take you. Let me just take you to a few headlines on the News Public Trust. And welcome to the show. Is the print news review here. Fidel is with us every Friday, 9:30. We also have Monday for Amos all the way in the USA, and we have Wednesday for Limfogwe all the way there in the Norway. And so we are here on Friday and in the week with Fidel. Okay, let me take this headlines quickly before I go back to Front Page Africa and bring out one of the stories according to what we're talking about. And then Fidel will be able to also analyze on the vote and what next. ArcelorMittal, Liberia's defend its record of high standards in this country. ArcelorMittal Liberia defends its record of high standards in this country. This one say, is metal still engaging in wasteful operations in Liberia? That's a question mark there. Justice Jane's controversial impeachment is over. 14 senators say guilty, 12 not guilty. And we see him walking out of the court, but he seems to be so happy here, though. Citizens in Lofa call on government to increase the education budget. And it's see citizens there marching in the street with a banner there. Trump grants last-minute year-long extension to Liberian immigrants threatened with deportation. That's the story that many of you know about already. The National Comfort wants teaching of civic education in Liberian schools. Ah, God, you see, we've been calling for it since 2 to 3 years. I hope they, I mean, to have a national conference at the end of it for them to call for this. I mean, this is great because right now, I mean, everything that, Fidel's talking here, analyzing here and thing, these are some of the things we need to take because the confusion that is now going on social media, where people, Fidel is talking about, about, let me borrow from him, this tribal affiliation, county affiliation and thing. If we go back to school and teach our young people civic education, and they begin to know what is it all about being a citizen of Liberia. I think it's a good one. It's a good call. National Comfort wants teaching of civic education in Liberian schools. And this one says here, Minister Tua says World Bank commits US 50 million to education in Liberia. I don't know whether we should believe this one again also because the other story came out and say, no, it's not true. I don't know why. I don't know now. Honestly, for me now, it's like anything of this nature now, when I see it being presented, I see the people there and be presenting it, fine. And then we can say, yeah, well, Mr. Minister, you got to come and tell more. Minister Tua says World Bank commits US 50 million to education in Liberia. Good venture. I mean, if it is true, please, we make sure the whole money should go to the education ministry because our teachers, they need training. And in fact, got the news from I know TU, to my university the last time. I don't know if that news is true. $5,250 to run the university, then it's not going to be easy. So these are the stories that are actually trending in the news public trust. Let me go quickly to those that are trending in the front page Africa. Supreme Court Justice Cabinet Journals impeached. So he's out. The Senate pro tempore under fire ahead of Supreme Court Justice impeachment. That was the early story today. We see Councillor Bronsky there. A major win for Liberian females in U.S. Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. This one say the critical one vote. That's the time they were getting prepared. The one crucial vote Justice Janet needs to save his seat at the. So obviously it was only one vote. But you know what? They put Prince Johnson there and they put two other guys that I don't know their names also. But that's why we come into the vote issue now. So Fidel can put pound on the amended revenue code revising excess tax law of 2018 with C tariff rising. I think they're trying to, because I see Hennekins, I see Savannah. I think they want to put a little bit of tax on these drinks or so. That's what they're trying to do here. But let me go back to the new public trust. Let me bring out this story, and then from there, perhaps this thing about the voting. Then we'll come back to Fidel to just wrap up on it. Okay, it says here. So the controversial impeachment trial of Supreme Court of Liberia Justice, Associate Justice Cabinet Journal, which started on February 28, 2019 at the Senate, has finally ended with the jury comprising senators voting him down guilty 14 to 12 on 4 counts. The lower house representatives on August 28, 2019 19 indicted Justice Johnny on impeachment grounds. Guilty, according to the summary of the Senate's current membership of 29 following the death of former Senator Geraldine Doe Sharif, means at least two-thirds voted to convict Justice Johnny. Among other counts, the embattled Associate Justice was found guilty of was abuse of discretion, granting a writ of prohibition in a road fund case, which the prosecution claimed denied the government of collecting levy taxes in the total sum of US $27 million, something that was vehemently denied by Justice Janet when he took the witness stand earlier. According to the Senate's action to impeach and remove Justice Janet from the Supreme Court bench is based on Article 71, of course, Fidel touched on it as well, of the 1986 Constitution, which says the Chief Justice and Associate Justices of the Supreme Court and the judges of subordinate courts of record shall hold office during good behavior. They may be removed under impeachment and conviction by the legislature based on proved misconduct, gross breach of duty, inability to perform the functions of their office, or conviction in a court of law for treason, bribery, or other infamous crimes. However, the expert witness in the impeachment trial, retired Associate Justice Counselor Philip A. Banks, had earlier said the Janet impeachment trial was unconstitutional. He said the proceeding took place in flagrant violation of Article 43 of the Liberian Constitution, which mandate both the House and Senate to draw up the rules for impeachment in line with due process of law. So that's that is it there. But Fidel, if we come to this vote now, respect to how it was handled and whether who voted or who never voted also. What is your take on it? And before we move to maybe the way forward, which is what next?
The thing is, I I didn't look to see who the individuals were that voted for. There had to be 20 votes in favor, which would be 2/3 of the current membership, well, of the total membership of the legislature. Because it's 30 of them, so 2/3 would be 20. They got 24 votes, which meant that it passed overwhelmingly. I hear, you reading an article there that talks about some road fund project or whatever it was. But then in the actual petition that I've got in front of me that was submitted to the Supreme Court, there's nothing in there about a road fund case. They only talked about the case involving EcoBank, and there's this lady called Madame Yancy, who apparently Justice Janet took her land or sold, bought the land from her son or whatever it was. So there's nothing in the petition about that. And if that was put in later on, then obviously that's, didn't show up in the copy of the petition that I have. But in terms of the vote, look, as I just go back to what I said earlier. I was always hopeful that we would have enough legislators in the Senate to oppose, because all we needed was for 10 people to say no. Because obviously, unfortunately, the late Senator Geraldine Doe Sharif is not around. So you've got 29 senators. So if 10 had voted against, then it wouldn't be 2/3. Unfortunately, we didn't have that. I'm disappointed, and that is the fact. I believe, and I keep going. I think Francis Coppola will be judged by history very harshly. You know, if I ever write a history book on Liberia, obviously he will be judged by me very harshly. You know, I'll say that now, and I can defend that any day, anywhere, because I believe that he had to do something. And sometimes, look, the right thing is not always the best thing. You know, doing the right thing is not always the best thing. You have to do what's best for the country. And I believe that what's best for our country right now was for him and Justice Nangwe to have recused themselves. We should have left 3 justices to vote, and the 2 female justices would have voted against it. There would have been a writ of prohibition, and then we weren't even talking what we're talking right now. There's no case to answer. We're done, finished. He had a chance even before that, like I said, to make sure that I didn't even get this far, but he didn't take that. And then he also had a chance to vote with the 2 female justices, and he didn't. So I think, look, people, you know, there are speculations there were some monies that exchanged hands. You and I are very versed when it comes to Liberian politics, so we know that these things are very common in our country, that members of the legislature can be bought, or there are allegations that members of the legislature can be bought. And for me, giving the outcome of the vote, I wouldn't be surprised if some monies actually exchanged hands, because I believe with my heart that these guys are there for themselves, not for the people that elected them. And if someone comes and pay a price for them to vote a certain way, I believe that they will vote that certain way. I think what is more important as well, Max, and what I would like to say here very clearly, unequivocally, is to commend the senators who voted against this, and extend that comment, applaud to those who abstained, because those who abstained made it less likely for them to get the numbers that they needed.
Yeah.
So we must commend those who actually voted against, because voting against is a bold move. It's saying to people, I said no to it. Those who abstain, for me, I call that the easy way out. It still counts. You know, if we had 10 abstaining, it wouldn't have passed. And we'll be sitting here saying, oh, thank God it didn't happen. But I think for me, it's always good for people to go on the record. I always go on the record and say what my opinion is. It turns out that my opinion is wrong. I apologize for that opinion. If it turns out that what I said is wrong, let me be sorry for what I said. But I will always go on the record to say what I think, because it shows boldness. It shows to the people that, look, I have an opinion, I believe in a certain thing, and this is what I believe in. You might not like what I believe in, but that's what I believe in. And if it turns out that what I believed was wrong, I'll say sorry. So I think it's always important for people to go on the record and say things. So I think we must. I think the focus shouldn't be on the 24. The focus should be on those who abstained and those who voted against this petition, because those are the real heroes. It's a statement that, look, we don't agree with this, even though they didn't win the war. They didn't win the battle, but who knows? They probably sowed some doubts that in the future there might be a war that they could win.
All right, I just got this news. Let me share it, because it's a similar case we're discussing here. About the same case. It says the Supreme Court Associate Justice Cabinet M. Jane has been impeached by the legislature for granting a writ of prohibition petitioned by petroleum dealers in the country to stop the government from collecting levy taxes of US 0.30 road fund imposed on the pump price of petroleum products. 22 senators voted to remove him. 4 voted against his removal, while 3 abstained from the process. However, said decision taken by Justice Jane when he served as the justice in chambers was endorsed by the full bench of the Supreme Court. of the Supreme Court. His lawyers prayed the Supreme Court not to admit the verdict into the Senate's records. According to them, the procedure used to impeach Justice Janneh was contrary to the procedure prescribed by the Constitution. They noted their exception to the verdict and announced that they would take an appeal to the Supreme Court. So that's
no, but let me just jump in there, Max, because that's what Article 73 of the Constitution says. Article 73 says this, you know, I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to say what it says. It said that no judicial official should be arrested, and no one should be impeached for acts or statements that they made whilst carrying out the duties of their office. This man was in the court. He was in chambers. He was there to be served as a judge on that case. The thing is, what people don't realize is that when judgments are passed, it's based on the opinion of the judge.
Yeah, certainly.
Within the framework of the law is how, look, you can have one case in front of 4 different judges and you probably get 4 different outcomes because each judge will interpret that one law different to the other judge. So the fact that Cabinet Janet said, oh, look, I believe that you shouldn't charge people extra 30 cents per gallon when they buy gas at the something, doesn't mean that if it was Francis Cockburn, he would say the same thing. But at the end of the day, because he said it whilst doing his job, Article 73 of the Constitution covers him. You cannot go after someone who's in the judiciary because Article 73 says when they make statements or they take actions in the course of carrying out the duties of their office, you cannot go after, because then there is no independence of the judiciary. That's the whole point of Article 73. He cannot do something. And then you say, oh, your judgment made the Liberian government collect 27 million. That's why he's a judge. Take the case to another court. Go to the Supreme Court and appeal. You cannot say, oh, because you've made a judgment against that affected the government. No. You've got justices in the United States that made cases against President Trump because with this travel ban thing, they said, no, we don't approve that thing. You won't hear the legislature say, oh, we're going to impeach you because you went against the government. The judges are supposed to be independent. That's why they are justices. That's why once they are appointed, they're there for life. So there's no political affiliation. So they're doing to him what the Constitution clearly stated that you should not do. He made a decision in chambers. You cannot go and punish him for a decision he made in chamber. That's what Article 73 of our Constitution says. So that's a breach of the Constitution. Not only that, Max, but the Speaker of the House, and that's why I'm very concerned, because if it was me, and if I was a senator, and I'm sitting there and I read this thing, you have, what's the term? Constitutional committees, yeah? You have committees in the House of Representatives who have a job to do. The Judicial Committee should be the committee that reviews article of impeachment against members of the judiciary. The Speaker went and set up an ad hoc committee to review the impeachment, the petition for impeachment, instead of sending it to the Judiciary Committee. Because the way it works is you send it into the committee will review it, the committee will vote on whether or not to put that onto the floor of the House of Representatives. If the committee does not vote to put it onto the floor, that impeachment petition of impeachment will never see the light of day. So my observation there is that the Speaker decided to bypass the statutory, that's the word I was looking for, the statutory committees, by setting up his own ad hoc committee, because he didn't trust that the Judiciary Committee in the House of Representatives would have allowed that petition to leave their committee room, because they would have read it and said, no, It doesn't make sense. We can put it onto the floor. And once the Judiciary Committee does not release it onto the floor, you cannot vote on it. So that again is unfair. It's illegal. You cannot set up a committee for the express purpose of doing a job. You have statutory committees. All of the committees in the House of Representatives have their jurisdiction. So that paper, that petition should have gone to the Judiciary Review Committee and not to an ad hoc committee. That was illegal. That was unfair to Justice Janet.
Okay. Okay. Before we come to the, because you know, a brother was just asking about you know, way forward, but I think the way forward is because, or what next? Yeah, better to ask about what next. That we got it there. What next is I think you just heard the latest news that coming out now, that they are willing to go further to the Supreme Court. So it's the battle, to me personally, as, or well, not personally, but from my own opinion, as far as it has to do with law is concerned, I mean, it's not yet over until perhaps at the onset that Fidel was just talking about as well, that honest, you know, well, if we have the reach to the Supreme Court, which is the only place we can stop. But now, Fidel, my understanding is that most of the cases as well can go to ECOWAS as well. So I don't know whether case that they will drag to ECOWAS, like what we do here in the UK. You can go to Brussels and win a case against the United Kingdom. So if that is the case, they may end up going to ECOWAS as well.
Look, you know, let me just give you my way forward.
But does it worth fighting to the end? Would you want to see Janice fight the case to perhaps to the last?
If he has, if just look, there's two things here, Max. One, we're talking about the judicial career of a person. Justice, His Honor Justice Cabinet Janet. We're talking about his judicial career. That's his judicial career over. If this is upheld, his judicial career is over. He can't be a part of.
Yeah, let me add on to it. Then you continue from there. This is why now, according to the latest press release I was just reading, they are asking them now not to even include it in their report, because that could also, maybe just in case, that can also haunt him tomorrow and say, well.
No. The thing is, what I'm saying is there's two things. One, there's the personal part of it, which is his personal judicial career. He wanted to serve as a justice up until he was 70 years old, retire, and go and live on his farm or something like that. But that's gone. If this is upheld, it's gone. The second is the public interest aspect of it. The public interest aspect is very, very crucial here, because this is a precedent that has been set. Because we will always have presidents in Liberia who will come in and will have issues with the judiciary. So every time a leader comes in and he's able to muster a majority of legislators in the representatives and the House of Senate, that he will then use that to go after justices that he or she does not like. And this is a very bad precedent for our democracy. So in terms of the public interest of it, I think Liberians who are able to must come out. There must be a demonstration. There must be protest against this, similar to what we have with the 18 billion. We need to have an independent investigation into the matter to understand whether or not law was applied legally in the spirit of the law, and also whether it was fair to Justice Janet. Because it's not just the case of, Dana. We need to know whether this was legal in terms of the letter of the law, whether it was legal in terms of the spirit of the law, and also whether it was done in a fair manner. Because if we don't, if Liberians just sweep this under the carpet, I can guarantee you our judiciary will only serve to be a rubber stamping institution where presidents will come in and all they need to do is just threaten the justice. Like, look, you don't do that thing here, I will impeach you. then they get afraid and then do what the judiciary, I mean, what the legislature or the executive branch of government want. And that is look, I'm just going to say something. It's ironic. One of our presidents who was accused of being a brute in President Samuel Kanyando was the man who oversaw the importing of protection into our constitution for the judiciary branch. So President Doe was considered not just by Liberians but by the world as a very brutal leader. He did a lot of horrible things, extrajudicial killings. He was the all-powerful, all-supreme president. He put that in. So he even understood the importance of our judiciary and why we must have an independent judiciary. And I go back to what I said from the start. Francis Kokpa is culpable. He should be shamed. He should resign. Wherever he came from, he needs to go back there because he did not manage this situation well. He allowed the executive branch of government to undermine the independence of our judiciary. And I'm honestly thinking about putting an opinion piece together about it because it's very, very annoying that the guy who is in charge of the judiciary, who is supposed to make sure that the judiciary remains independent, the Chief Justice of the United States recently came out and broke with protocol to call the president out and like, look. When President Trump came out and said, oh, there's the Obama judges and Clinton judges, and he came out, no, there's no Obama judges, no Clinton judges. There are judges. That's all there is. Judges. These are not Obama or this. And usually chief justices in the United States don't even come out and talk. But because he was so interested in protecting the integrity and the independence of the judiciary, he had to come out and this guy is a Republican. He had to come out and challenge the president like, no, we're making you here. And that is what you do for the institution that you serve. The Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia is culpable. He needs to resign. He needs to be ashamed of himself. And there must be protests and demonstration against him as well, because he sat there and allowed the institution, which is our judiciary, that should be independent and credible, to now become a mockery and a laughing stock. And that, for me, is unforgivable.
All right, let me take your points. Just before we end the show, we'll get comments from Fidel, but I'll go to BBC Focus on Africa and play a clip, and then from there we can get his personal contribution as well on the issue of government officials lying to their own citizens. All right, let's take this from Mervyn DeShield. He said the case was politically driven. If this is true, why use a constitutional ruling? Good question there, and that's why his solicitors are deciding now. They say they will go further. Abraham Bai Wishna, he say, in view of all the Supreme Court justices should be removed. Okay, sorry. In my view, all the Supreme Court justices should be removed from the bench. What you guys are forgetting to know is that the Constitution does not give the Supreme Court the right to stop an impeachment proceeding. The only rule that the Supreme Court play is to preside, which is the Chief Justice. Thanks for your contribution. Let me look further. Okay. Okay, Wilson Jerry asked the question. He's already out. So what next? Attend the next now. You finish hearing it now. They have sent out a press release. They are not resting. They are going to go to, they're going to put in an appeal. So meaning that what we're just talking about, we still got a long way to go. But before we come finally, Fidel, because of time, Sekou Kalasko, who is the President A, by virtue of his responsibility that you, me, plus those guys, all of you that are on this platform here, he's living on our tax money, meaning his responsibility is to us and the nation. Except the brother is forgetting to know his own responsibility. But so long the money that he's getting, he paid, the allowances, everything is not coming directly from the president's office, but rather coming from the budgets raised by the people of Liberia. His contribution, his utterances were either, boost the morale of the government. They love to use the word morale. Let me borrow it. Or actually put the government into mess that all of us will feel it, because once you say I'm a Liberian, the people will take you, they know straight, they say, okay, this is it. On the photograph that he released, which you have seen, many of us have seen, honestly, to me, Fidel, I didn't authenticate, I didn't look at the photo so keenly. I waited a lot of comments under his post, and I think I went under the post and myself, I just say, congratulations to the pro-poor government. Thank you for the local rule. That's it. And I left. But then within a few hours or so, I started seeing posts coming, lashing at him and questioning him about the post, about the particular photograph. I went back to look at the photograph. But what I forgot to do was to actually maybe to authenticate it through Google Map or so. Somebody inboxed me the photo and said, Max, this photo is not from Lofa County. And probably it may not even be from Liberia, that the way I'm hearing the person say so. I said, oh, really? What? No way it can be. And then on the talk show that evening, on one of the talk shows that evening, somebody, they raised the issue up. And people called from Lofa, and people who traveled from Lofa within just a few days and came to Monrovia. They were saying on the radio that, except that different Lofa, but if that Lofa County where we have Bonjaman, Zozo, and other places, they wrote me and CEO, are you coming from that side? So I was just sitting there and say, what? But why would the guy do this? On and on, before the evening could come, yesterday, as you know, he came up and he said he issued an apology. But then what he said there was, the story is correct, but the picture is wrong. And then he said again, oh, even the big newspapers in the Western world can also make mistake. Well, I don't believe him anyway. But this is it. I want to play this clip before you come, before I ask you for your own honest opinion on it. And maybe to throw out advice, because I dealt with a case today. He came on the platform, he watched my show. I was dealing with him and putting in pieces of advice. And I told him that, honestly, my man, I started this last year with you. Even when I went to Paris, when the president came to France in February, I went there, we met. And I told you quite openly that you were overlapping. This work is not your work here. This is public relation work. You don't want to listen also. So today he tried hard to get on the show, but he couldn't get on. But listen to him on, people came and started talking and said, oh, they, your little boy alone, your little boy alone, I mean, he didn't destroy anything. He didn't cause any crime that people are talking about him or whatsoever. Failing to know that before the end of the day, BBC said will call him because BBC are interested in it. Let's listen to him a little bit, just a few seconds.
Initiative, but was then soon noticed that this road was actually under construction somewhere in the a road project are due to appear in court. In aid to Liberia's President, George Weah has been forced to take down his Facebook post and apologize for posting about a road project that doesn't exist anywhere in Liberia. Sakau Kalasco Damaro had claims that the road project was the president's initiative, but was then soon noticed that this road was actually under construction somewhere in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Here's what Sakau said in response to his taken down Facebook post.
I posted the wrong picture of the ongoing road construction on Lofa. I did a correction and I apologize for posting the wrong picture, not the post. I apologize for posting the wrong image of the road construction, but the post is still up. Then I came back and apologized to the public.
Now, Fidel, you know, this is he still defend it on the international radio that the picture is wrong, but the post is right. But now people are still up to now. People are asking him question: can you put the real photo then from Lofa County? He say the road construction, and people from Lofa County are saying nothing of that nature. Anyway, before we wrap up on the hour already, let's get your view on this one. And then before we share some other comments from other friends and family.
Well, my view on it is very strong. I had a very heated conversation with a friend and colleague of mine yesterday as well about it, and I was so appalled about what he did. I decided to write an op-ed about it, an article. I've just sent you the link to that article, which was published in the Bush Chicken today. And just stating how this government is becoming its own worst enemy. And the point I was trying to make is, look, you're doing some good things. Focus on the facts. You know, the president signed the Land Rights Act into law. That's a fact. So focus on that. Talk about that. That's a good thing. He paved the road into a community. That's a fact. Talk about that. You know, focus on the things that he's actually doing. Every time you go and say something that is a total lie, and you try to misrepresent it as the truth, you only shoot yourself in the leg, because people will find out. You're not dealing with, look, Max, what these guys do not realize is we live in a day and age where you can't even go to the toilet without somebody knowing that you're in the toilet. You know, you just walk, you know, in like bro say bathroom, you go to the bathroom, somebody will know you're in the bathroom. Because even your phones have locators on them. It will tell people exactly where in your house you're standing at that particular moment in time. So we live in a world that is so interconnected, so interdependent, that everything you do, say, or think will be out in the public before you even know it. I said in my piece that I wrote, and you know, and I'm going to post it on social media later on, that it was an intended attempt. It's not a mistake. It was blatant. He blatantly tried to mislead the Liberian people. He was caught in the act, and the best thing he could have done was, in his apology, he should have said, my people, you're sorry. I wanted to lie to you, but you caught me in the lie. Instead, he came out and said, oh, I posted the wrong picture. So like most Liberians, I asked in my piece, okay, show her the right picture. Because usually, if I want to, I've got pictures in my phone. So maybe I took a picture of my daughter and myself, and there's 3 or 4 different images, and I wanted to upload one, and I upload the wrong one. I'll just go and take it off and put the right one on. I wouldn't apologize. I would apologize. Oh, my boy, sorry that the wrong image there, but here's the right image. Up until now, he hasn't put the right images out.
No.
So that was, and the second thing is, Max, you and I have, you know, what we might call the latest version of smartphones.
Yeah.
The S10 is out. You know, we got the S10 around here. People got the newest versions of Apple. I've not heard of any features on the phone that auto downloads pictures. So it would just go and download picture by itself.
No way.
You didn't tell the phone to download picture. It just download, because the only way you can make a mistake, the picture has to be in your phone.
It got to be there.
That picture was inserted into a news article. So it wasn't just any ordinary picture. It was in a news article. So the only way you get that picture from the article, you have to initiate a download. Your phone can do it for you. If Sekou Kolasco get phone, I can do it. I bake and let you tell me what kind of phone I've got. Me, I want one of that phone too. If you got phone, I can just auto download. You can just sit down and say, oh, Fidel will let the picture here. Let me download it for him.
Then
I want one of that picture. No, honestly, Max, if he has a phone that does that, he should please tell me so I can buy one for myself, because I would love my phone to download nice pictures for me every now and again. That's how stupid these guys think the Liberian people are. For all you used to sit there and tell somebody, oh, it was a mistake. How did the picture get in your phone in the first place? It cannot be a mistake, because the picture would have been put there intentionally. That's why it's not a mistake. Some people, a friend of mine was saying, oh, you are insinuating. It's not insinuation, it's common sense. No phone downloads on its own. You have to click download for the phone to download the picture. So how do you click download? So it came on your phone. So what did you want to do with the picture that you downloaded in the first place? So let's say you downloaded it and then you did not want to upload it. Why did you download a picture of a road construction when you know you're coming to talk about road construction? You don't need to be a mathematician. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need to have 2 degrees. You can be the old man selling in the market said, nobody can cover your eyeball like that. Because at the end of the day, Max, there is no explanation for why he has the picture on his phone. It's not like picture that you took yourself. That is a picture that someone else took. That is in the public domain. The only way you get that picture, you have to initiate a download. So who initiated download? If you say it's a mistake, who initiated down? Who downloaded the picture on your phone? Somebody took your phone from behind you and downloaded the picture.
That's the excuse, except that he didn't even talk that on the radio yet. But he took all
but those are the questions. You see, Max,
the
best way to undermine. The best way I have learned, in my time in academia, to undermine things that people say is to ask simple questions. Just ask him, okay. Say you say you made a mistake, fine. What's the picture that you wanted to put out?
Well,
that's the first question.
Yeah.
Say you're able to answer that question. Let me give you the second question. How did picture you manage to get on your phone or on your computer? Because we know, you and myself, we involved in technology. Nobody's brought out a phone that just auto download. You have it auto corrects, but it auto correct when you're writing. The phone will not just sit down, you open text message, you type nothing, and it just start auto correcting your word. No, you have to initiate before it will auto do something. And there is no auto download. There is no phone that I know of or computer that I know of that will just sit there by itself and like, you know what? Max was talking about going to Greece the other day. I'll download this picture of Greece for him so that he can see what Greece looks like. No, we don't have it. So that's the second question. How did they get on the phone? So people who will say that some of us are just wrong critics, answer a basic question. How did the picture get on your phone? Because it's different when you went places and you were taking pictures. You can say, okay, those are pictures he took on his phone, so you can understand how he made that mistake. But this is an image that somebody else took that is in a public place. It has to be downloaded. How was it downloaded onto your phone is the question. If he can answer those 2 questions, where's the main picture and how it got downloaded, then I can agree to that exit. But the explanation is, I don't even care about the apology because that's not an apology. No. Because he's lying. The apology is a lie. You're saying that you made a mistake, and that's not a mistake. You intended to deceive, and then you got caught in the act. And then because you're so dumb, you don't know how to deceive. You're that dumb that you don't even know how to deceive people. And you get caught in the act of trying to deceive, and then you lie, say, oh, I made a mistake. And then you don't even know how to lie. Because you should come out and say, okay, someone sent me that image, and I didn't know it was in my phone. But I honestly do not understand.
Fidel, the greatest betrayal, I will put it as a betrayal in this story is, at least if it was proven that this road the photo he put there is from Southtown, it's from Bon County, it's from Bomi County, in Liberia, fine. But to say this particular photograph is all the way from the DRC, and you posting on it? No. And let me take your point before we end the show tonight. John Smith say he did not make a mistake. He was caught with his pants down. Abraham by which now says he was trying to deceive the Liberian people. They think we are all stupid set of people. Okay, quickly to this, Melvin the Shield. Fidel made some good points. He brought substance to the topic under discussion. Good observation, bro. Thank you very much as well, Melvin. Abraham Bawishna say, let me tell you, Max, I just came from Lofa 3 weeks ago. Most of the roads projects in Liberia has stopped due to lack of funding. All right, Sekou Kalasco, come and get all the pictures though. All right, he says, yeah, he got presidential phone laughing out loud. Okay, Abraham is presidential phone. All right, Abraham Ba is back. He says that we got 419 government. And Amos George say, who gave this guy the authority to speak on behalf of the government of Liberia about projects? That is it. That's why I was dealing with him today. I've been telling him, I said, my man, Toby, I'm not Smith, Toby. Smith, you did the same thing when Sam Manna was there. I started with him when Sam Manna was there. And I inboxed him, I told him, I said, my man, let me be very frank with you. You are doing Sam Manna's job. He is there. You even get the director of press in your office. And you get public relation, which is Sam Manna. That's Sam Manna work you're doing here. Your work as special aid. And when we went to Paris, when we came from Paris, I inboxed him, I told him the mistake he did. I said, my man, look, let me tell you. This guy was there on Facebook Live. Now, there was a point that some Liberians brought gifts to the president. And they went to present it. Nobody was telling that. That was his duty right there. And that's his duty, in fact. Nobody was there. When the president received the gift, he just passing around that who collected it. Are they somebody who was, I think it was even the speaker. Before I could see him coming rushing. You know. And I came back, I said, brother, I inboxed and I said, my man, you know, although I have not done the work, but I saw it doing just at the time. I saw it on many, many, many occasions where the special aid AD is almost like the Secret Service individual that is there to take the bullet for any president. You are also you're supposed to be you're supposed to be number 2 to those people. When they're taking bullet, you would also take the bullet. You are the second eye of the president. The president sitting among people also. Your eye contact is straight to the president. The president can call you anytime for you to go there to send you on an error. The president can call you anytime and tell you, say, go and speak to that individual. I want their contact or whatsoever. Nobody else, no other security person that you work there. When the president receiving a present, you're supposed to be there. Sometimes you standing so close to the extent the president will extend their hand. I've been seeing that. I saw you. Even today, I repeated on the show. He was sitting here. He watched the show throughout. Your hand is even longer than the president's hand to grab that gift. Number one, for security reasons as well. You collected a quick, and the president will make you go on by. You don't allow even the president. Now, in all presence that the president himself will collect the gift. Don't wait. But this guy, he doesn't want to listen. This is where he's putting us now. He's making our countries embarrassed. I mean, going on the international out. That's why I was telling him today. You ever expected that you're going to be on BBC, focus on Africa? People asking you that.
Well, maybe that's why he did it, so that he could get on BBC. He lied so that maybe BBC can't talk to him.
The brother embarrassed us strongly, but you know, on the serious note, I think those I was telling him, I said those guys that were actually praising you, and those are still praising you, that they stand with you on this case. They don't love you. They don't want you to progress. People need to criticize you constructively and give you pieces of advice. And I told him, I said, you know what? This thing here, maybe you don't have any degree for you to go do to do this job here. You can learn on it. This man, you are the first confidant, even in the office there, between the Ministry of State for Presidential Affairs. The president can even see you more often than the other people. The president can see you more you and the chief of protocol, Lafina. The two of you, the president can see you more often than the other people. And there are instances that even something will drop in your ear, it will take time for it to drop to the Inspector General of the Liberian National Police or the National Security Agency. You are the #1 confidant of the president. Your life is in his hand as well. The special security, they can even, once that man enter his office, the special security are outside. But you can go and sit in that office at any time. He needs to send you on error. So everything that the president is doing, you are #1. This is not your work. Press and public affairs, leave it with the people. Let them people do their work. President go, you just focusing on the president. And whatsoever, keep your eye on him and what. I say I've not done a job, but because I saw it in Taylor Town, I saw it somewhere do town small. I know I just, but Fidel, we're just wrapping up now. But I think these are issues actually we need to put on as well, because other than that, embarrassment will continue, and we're all going to face it, almost stigma as well. So, but I don't know if you are to add on to pieces of advice for your brother, because he normally wash my shoes. Even after the show, he will come and wash yours, so just to know what we've been talking about. What would you want to tell him?
Well, the first thing I'll say to him is, look, he needs to go and read my article in the Bush Chicken, which was published today, and hopefully he can learn. It's not just to him, but it's to the president, it's to all of the people who serve in government. Look, this government hasn't done a lot of good things yet, but they've done some good things. And it's always important that you focus on the things that you've done. There's no point going out there trying to sell things that you haven't done, because you will get found out. We have Liberians now who are smart, who are clever. I found out from A.B. Darius Dillon, it was through him that I found out that this thing was a fake. And then when he came out with his fake apology, I had some heated arguments with conversations with some of my colleagues. And then I decided, no, you know what? Let me get this out to a wider platform. I'm going to write a piece and get it published so that people can see exactly why I'm saying what I'm saying. Because if you focus on the things that you're doing, if you focus on the things that you've done, then you don't get caught in a lie. You don't get caught in a situation whereby people are going to question your legitimacy or what you've done or the things that you should be doing. And I don't have an issue with people around the president singing his praises and trying to promote him, even though he's not really performing very well. But then do it in an honest and respectful manner. And don't take the Liberian people to be fools, because that was an attempt to pull a shield over our eyes and lie to us. Look, I probably would have seen that and I would have thought, wow, these guys are doing well. Because I didn't know that something like that existed. But thanks to, Darius Dillon and whoever did the research, went and did the research. And that's what people need to realize. We live in a day and age now where everyone have a research platform on their phone. You just need to go to Google and type something. People can upload image, and you can take that image, and there's apps that can tell you exactly where that image was taken. So it's not like we live in, like 1930s anymore, where whatever you hear on the radio, that's final. No, where people only used to listen to VOA. You can get your alternative news from everywhere. People are getting news from the conversations we're having tonight. Some of the things that we read out, people get news from it. People get news from other platforms. Obviously, when I'm finished talking to you, I've got a very long night because there's another program I'm supposed to be calling into to give some opinion on as well. So there are a lot of places that people are giving their opinions, and people can get their news. So these guys have to be careful. Just if you focus on the things that you are doing, your life will be easy, because you don't have to defend something that's not true. Anything you do, you say you not do it already. It's easier to defend the things you've done. So my advice to him, if he's listening, is read my piece and try and learn from this debacle. Learn from this, because people will now scrutinize you even more because you've presented yourself to be a liar. And my understanding is he's a young man, like some of us. He's got a long future ahead of him. You don't want to be seen as a corrupt, a lying, a deceitful person before your career even starts. You've not even started your career yet, and then you're setting yourself up like this. It's not fair for you. You need to have some integrity, build a good platform, good career, good profile for yourself, and don't try and bring yourself down by being a liar this early on. You're a young man. You've got a long way to go. Don't be sitting there and trying to shoot yourself in the leg. And that would be my advice. He just needs to make sure that he does from now on things that will build himself up. And when you were making that point about what he was doing in Paris, it brought me to a point where it's a good friend of mine. I'm not going to call his name because he's also awfully he's in a high position in this government, so I don't want people to go start pointing finger at him. But a good friend of mine said to me once that one of the problems with us or with Liberian people is that everybody wants to be relevant. It's not a bad thing to be relevant. Being relevant doesn't mean that you need to be in the public eye.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest people on this planet are people who work in the background. Those are the people that do the best work, who work quietly in the background, make sure things are running. Your job is to make sure that the president has whatever he needs. Just do that job. If you want to be a politician, there will come a time that you can step out from his shadow. But for now, just do the job that they call you to do. Forget about being a politician. Just focus on being an aide to the president. Be at his beck and call. When he needs something, do it to the best of your ability with a smile on your face. And look, Max, you know where we came from. That Calasco is doing now for Chief Allen before I left Liberia. That was my job. You want to see the chief, you got to see me first. That's the job he's doing. So enjoy it. I didn't know all platforms back then, but I didn't go around trying to be something that I wasn't. I knew what I was. I did what I needed to do because I knew there was a time coming in the future that I will be at a different level. And you will get your time, if you just do the right thing. So, my advice to him is read my piece and try and just do your job. Stay in your corner. There's no need to try and be relevant by being in the public eye because it's not helping you. The first few things you've done, is that, Liberian people is a backfire on you now. So just leave it.
Leave it. Okay. Fidel, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We'll be taking a long break anyway, and then when we come back, we'll continue with the show. But for tonight, once again, we say thank you very much, and have a pleasant night, and also enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Oh yeah, we've got the AGM of ULOC tomorrow, so I'm going to be quite busy again. It's a very busy weekend for me. But we love doing things for our country, Max. So when it comes to Liberia, I'm always excited to do stuff, and we'll be at the AGM. The hope is there will be a peaceful transition tomorrow after the elections. So that will be fun to see, and then some of us can retire, from serving the Liberian people in the UK and sit in the back seat and watch others flourish as well. So it'll be a nice time, and we will definitely be enjoying it. But thank you for having me on, Max, and obviously we'll definitely be speaking offline, and we look forward to when the show is back on as well.
Okay, Fidel. Have a very pleasant night.
Thank you.
Sadly, this is how we're going to end the show tonight. This morning or this afternoon, depending on your time. Tomorrow we'll have the special edition of the Max K Talk Show, and we'll be live in Accra, Ghana. My understanding is that our people there are in hot waters right now. So we'll be live in Ghana tomorrow. about 2 p.m. tomorrow to have a representative community leaders there speaking to us and sharing with us the ongoing development there in Ghana, in Accra, Bujumbura. Join me tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. GMT, 1400 hours. Thank you so much for tonight. God bless you.
Just in the market, we're telling check it. See, love is the key, together we can move forward. Yes, man, one trust, you know that we can move forward.
Ah, yes, people think we're Bella, but we're not Bella. That's why when you put your picture up, somebody will go behind it and check the story behind it. On this note, I say thank you so much. God bless you. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your night, if it's night to you. Bye-bye.